All right, welcome back to TwinStick Garage. So on today's episode, I'm gonna pick up where we left off last week. I'm gonna try and get the back clip welded to the Duke. So I know I left a bit of a cliffhanger there in the last episode, and the main reason was by the time I finally cleaned up these frame rails, I had that dust and crap everywhere. So I decided to get the air gun out, and I blew out the whole shop from one side all the way to the other. And I even blew off the cabs and the workbenches and got all the dust and whatever other nasty stuff that was in here out the doors. And then Blake showed up and he said, well, let's go get my tools. So we went and picked up his welder and his gear. And by the time we brought it all back here, it was already dark and after supper time. So we decided to park the project, and we're gonna, like I said, we're just gonna pick it up today with the goal of concluding and actually connecting these two pieces together and making the Duke one again.
Get to heaven, got a D.I.E. You gotta put on your coat and key.
Yeah. Now the plan's gonna be, Blake was telling me, is he's thinking of cutting a 45 kind of this way. So the bottom piece would be taken out. And he actually wants to cut it with a skill saw. And I can't wait to see that. But his logic is, he says, well, skill saws can cut through hardwood, and aluminum's softer than hardwood, so why wouldn't it work? So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that works out. So he's gonna skill saw off 2 triangles there, and then we'll do the same thing right about where the cracks are, and he'll just cut it at a 45 like this. So then all we need to do is wheel the tandems forward, connect that in, line everything up, measure twice, clamp the bottom rails because they're expanded out a little on the bottom, so we've got to bring those back together. Get everything perfectly straight so the truck doesn't dogleg going down the road, and weld it up. Should be as simple as that. So first up, what we wanted to do is, Blake was mentioning that it'd be a good idea to have a fish plate in behind here. And rather than going and buying some aluminum, we got perfectly good aluminum plate right here. So again, we'll cut it off there at the crack, and that should give us about a 300-inch wheelbase, which is what I'm shooting for. But then he figured what we can do is we can cut out a piece from this material here and use that as a fish plate. So while I wait for Blake to get over here, I think what I might do is undo these bolts and try and get this cross member out of here.
When I drink brown liquor, I get crazy quicker than an old red fox on the run. I get tongue-tied and I lose my mind, and everything comes undone. It's hard to explain how it bends my brain when it's a swimming.
Oh, it's always the last bolt that causes you the most trouble. So when I took the torsion bar suspension off this, I remember this one actually, the head broke off. So now what I'm doing is I just put a bunch of washers. So at least I still had the threads on this side. So I just put a bunch of washers there, and now I'm just zipping it in. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna pull the stud out through the corroded frame. Something like this. Well, let me think now. I suppose I could leave it parked down on this end because, well, as long as it's not in the way, maybe I'll hammer it back. Because once Blake cuts the frame off and this drops down, I'll be able to hit it out. So that's what I'll do. I'll just bang it as far in as it'll go. Something like that should work. Okay, so next I wanted to clean up some of these holes here, because the goal is going to be is just have these frame rails long and smooth as can be. So what I wanted to do was clean out, because a lot of corrosion in all these holes where steel bolts went through. So I got this reamer bit, and I'm just going to try and clean them up a little bit, because what Blake was saying was we'll put a plate on the inside, temporary plate, and then he's going to weld all of these closed, and then I can work on finishing them, making them all smooth, fill this with filler, and then prime, and then paint the whole rail, and that way it'll look beautifully smooth with no clutter on it. Because I even want to take the tanks and hide the air tanks inside the frame rail, and then get either a stainless steel or a diamond plate deck plate. It just goes the whole distance. It's gonna be awesome.
My blood. When I drink brown liquor, I go crazy quicker than an old red fox on the run, run, run. I can chug a lug on it.
It actually works really good on these smaller holes, so it's a shame I don't have a bigger diameter reamer bit. Oh, a little bit of corrosion I still got to grind off of there. And I guess I should probably take this off, because this is the system that used to grease the torsion bar bushings that would support the torsion bar suspension, so it could twist freely in there. And you just put grease in, and it would send it down these little lines, and it would shoot it right into that bushing. Yeah, we won't need that anymore. I can take that off. And this big old bolt can come out of here too. The cleaner the better. Even these three little guys, I don't know what they're for, but they can go. Blake at FlyWeldFabricate on YouTube showed up, and he is going to make this happen. So we were just checking out, and I said at the start of the video how we were going to do it. We were going to cut this way and then just have this drive right up, because that made a lot of sense to me, rather than trying to lift this up and chuck it underneath. So just, you were explaining about that bottom piece there.
If we cut this way, then to get the length that we want, we lose this webbing.
Yeah.
And I want to cut beyond this crack.
Of course,
so we're
yeah.
going to cut here, we lose this webbing. This webbing gives us a lot of the strength. So we're going to cut it this way, and then we gain all the length we want.
Yep.
And we keep all the strength that we want. The only thing is, it's a lot harder to put it together. Not a lot harder, it's just a little more inconvenient.
Because we got to sneak it underneath.
We just have to kind of lift it up, slide it underneath, lower it down, bump it around.
And get it lined up.
It's going to be a little bit of thinking, a lot of noise, and then a lot of welding.
That'll work.
Yeah.
But thanks goodness for the gantry, so at least we can pull that off. Because again, if you remember the last episode, it was 338 when this was touching the wheelbase, so we can lose 38 inches, and 38 inches is right about where that crack is. It's right in there. So we want to make sure we keep our 300-inch wheelbase. So yeah, let's get it. So you're going to cut this with a skill saw?
Yep. If the skill saw doesn't work, then I have a big skill saw, which will work. That big skill saw cuts through 1-inch steel.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's mark it out and get at it.
Pitter patter.
Your mug, I can win the blue ribbon every time. On rum and coke, I tell real good jokes, and I hardly ever cross that line. I can shoot tequila till all I feel.
Okay, so that didn't take long. So we got that all laid out. There's your cut there. And since Blake was saying that since the angle's not too steep, we should just be able to tuck it right in there. We might not even have to lift this up, right?
Yeah, it's going to be much easier than we thought. Knock on wood. Hopefully I didn't jinx us.
So how loud is this going to be?
Barry.
Okay, let's get the earplugs in.
Yeah.
All right, so if you remember the last episode, you remember these hangers that it was a heck of a lot of work to get off of there. And they just go right in there. You can kind of see the outline where they were. So Blake's going to cut right in between. So when that material's gone, so those 3 holes will obviously stay on this side, but these 3 holes will re-drill in here, and then that bracket will go back on there, and that bracket's going to act as a support to hold the 2 pieces together and obviously try and reduce cracking somewhere down the line. So just a skill saw with a fancy Diablo blade, huh?
Well, hopefully this works.
Let's give her a go. Is this going to be louder than the tire exploding last week?
More continuous.
Okay.
Actually make metal blades for standard skill saws for aluminum.
Oh yeah?
They're a slightly different pitch,
Okay.
so they don't get clogged up as easy.
Yeah.
But this is just kind of proof that you can actually do it with just, this is just a 60-tooth carbide tip blade, just your standard wood blade. But now
So that's a standard wood blade. It's not even an aluminum blade.
no, this is just a wood blade. But these things can cut hardwood, like walnut.
Yeah.
I'll bet walnut is more dense than aluminum.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you.
Big happy buzz. But if you see me starting on the gym or the jack or the crown, then you better run. 'Cause
Just do that, leave the cut. Two. So all I gotta do is do a bevel here, bevel on top, bevel on the bottom. Just 4-way bevel around everything. And that's a nice parallel cut. Way better than you're ever gonna get with a zip cut.
Well, you sure solved the crack issue in the frame in one
crack?
quick movement. Yeah, what crack? That's very cool. All right, so now do the same on this guy and wheel it together.
Yeah, I might use the big saw on that one.
So you're saying we're gonna change saws now. This is the bigger
Yeah,
one.
it's just that blade to
We took a
taking
few.
the shit kicking.
Yeah, we took a few bites out of it.
So just a couple pinch points and stuff like that. This one's definitely not in good shape. It probably might not do better.
But if it's made for cutting steel, it should eat right through the aluminum.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's just the aluminum might gall it up a little bit and just, we'll try. We got 2 saws,
3 blades.
couple blades.
We got 2 more cuts and we're done.
We got more determination than we got equipment.
That's right, we don't know how to quit. That's looking good.
How long has it been? An hour?
Yeah, about that. Bump them together in another hour and we're done. We can go drink a course.
It can be close, yeah.
Sweet. So you're just gonna do a little bit of cleanup then?
Yeah, with this sander, I'll put new blades on.
Yeah.
Clean it, bevel it. Clean it, bevel it. You want to get as much bevel in as possible.
Just so you have room for the weld.
It's gonna be full penetration here, right? So
Yeah.
it's. I wish I didn't mess up those skill saw blades, because then I just chiseled away with that and.
Oh, and just cut the angle.
I
Yeah.
might try it anyways. Blade's garbage, but we'll see how bad we can make it.
So we're just looking at the bracket there, and I just realized what Blake was talking about. So we'll put the bracket back on in these 3 bolts, and then obviously when the weld's done, and then you can just drill these 3, right? And you were saying you're going to clean the frame up?
Yeah, I'll clean up these holes. So these holes will all be gone. This
Oh
frame,
yeah, you'll fill them all in.
I'm going to fill them in, grind them down, and then this is going to be bare metal. So you just drill through, and then with some of the existing frame rails that we had cut
Yeah.
off of there.
Oh, down over there.
We're going to cut a chunk off about that big,
Yep.
and then when you bolt through, you bolt right through the other side,
And then sandwich it all together.
this acts as a fish plate
Yep.
right on the weld. So it's just like, now it has to shear 6 bolts, 1 inch of aluminum,
Yep.
and my stellar welds for it to break.
Oh yeah. It'll never break. Hook on a Super Bee, we're good to go.
Oh yeah.
So Blake's just cleaning up the beveled edges, make them nice and smooth, and then we'll bring the 2 pieces together, and then yeah, next comes welding. All right, so check this out. Isn't that nice? So Blake's just getting his welder ready to go, and then we'll see if we can't line this up nice and square, right?
Nice and square.
Okay, so we just discovered that Blake's welder has a typical 3-prong welder plug, and mine, or my plug in the wall here, is like this. So it's a different style. So what we need is an adapter that goes from this male to female to his. So we may be dead in the water tonight, but that's okay because we can come back and through the magic of editing, pick right back up where we left off. But what we will do tonight is wheel this together and try and get it as straight as we can and clamped up, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll look to see what it looks like, and then if we've overlooked something else,
Yeah, maybe we missed something else.
that problem is going to appear, and then we'll be ready to go for welding.
Yeah.
But at least I can set up the machine and see where everything needs to be.
Well, that's the way she goes sometimes.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we're gonna wrap it up there because again, we need the plug for the welder, but we rolled it into place and got all the clamps and that's looking pretty decent. That's a nice gap. Blake's right in the fridge because we gotta celebrate that we got it into place. But if you look, I mean, it's not bad. So you were saying we'll do some tacking when we finally get it.
Yeah, we'll get some tacks going. At
Yep.
least then, like, we can start making sure that the seam is flat.
Yeah,
And we get some tacks, and then we can fine tune it. And I mean, one of the oldest tools in the world is still one of the best. A string line running down, and then you can see where you're out quarter.
String line,
They built
yep.
pyramids. They work. So
so we'll string line it.
we'll string line it, and then we can really fine tune it, making sure everything is good. And before we weld anything out, then at least then if something needs to get adjusted, it's easy to bust a tack, clean it up, and just
Yeah.
go over it like it didn't exist.
But at least the tack will hold it from rolling out of place.
Exactly. And it'll be, if we say we need to shift it over this way, then we had to tack the side up top there. I could tack the inside rail here and here,
Yeah,
shift it a little bit. Say I need a little bit more clearance, I can add some clearance there,
yeah.
bump it around. I mean, like, for where I'm looking at with my eye down here, we're within an eighth,
Nice.
right? So, like, an eighth is pretty good for a rough eyeball, and we'll just keep hammering down and come back again and
Get her done.
get her done.
Nice, Blake.
You betcha.
All right, I'm back at it again. I went and picked up a proper welder plug from Home Depot there. So now I'm just going to cut up this was the wires that were going into my welder, but we're just gonna borrow it for now. As a temporary means of getting Blake's welder working. And then I'll just put new ends on it when we're done and put it back inside my welder. Yeah, so what we're doing now is we're just gonna run a quick string line all the way down the frame rail. So obviously this part of the frame is straight, and then we'll be able to see, well, you can even tell right now, it looks like it's a little out that way. So we'll use a string line, get it as straight as we can. The welder turns on, so I wired the plug correctly, and we'll start welding. Yeah, that actually looks pretty darn good. Now, you see a bit of a gap right in the middle here, and this is just all the corrosion from the fifth wheel plate that was on there, and it ate away at the material, so it was kind of throwing us for a loop. But it's touching there, touching here, and then all the way along the main rail. So I think, like I say, this is just a bit of an optical illusion. We won't worry about that corrosion. All right, let's weld her up. So what Blake's doing here is we're just filling a few holes, making sure the welder's set up correctly. How's it looking, Doctor?
She's hot. She's running hot.
She's running a little warm?
That's good. Hot's good. Just to make sure everything is in there.
Oh yeah, penetrated. This is just temporary to...
Yeah.
Now we got to go over the other side and try and line up that rail.
Nope, a couple more tacks here. This should be enough to lock in the top.
Yep.
As you can see here on the bottom, we can just get a little bit of variation.
Oh, yeah.
It's popping
Sticking
out
out
a
a
little.
little.
So we're going to try to lower the clamp down. Move it out just a little bit. Get this sitting a little straighter.
Need a hand? This guy's just holding up a camera.
Hey,
I'm not doing much.
all right. TwinStick's garage, guest starring.
Yeah. Starring FlyWeldFabricate.
Yeah,
Where do you want that?
right there. Best supporting actor.
Yeah, that's right.
The temperature better. It just makes for a stronger weld, a better weld. It's not just the fact that it's being dry, it's just adding preheat, so it's just
Goes in better.
on pipelines and stuff like that. You have to preheat the metal, post-heat the metal. It just makes for a stronger.
So it's not just for aluminum, you do that on steel as well?
Yeah, you can preheat any metal.
Huh.
Like, to get things going. This top basically welded out.
Okay.
So we could weld up this side complete,
Okay.
or we can move on to this side. What does Mark want to do?
Oh, I'm good either way. I mean,
Let's have a look at the other side and see what it looks like.
yeah, because you could always finish both sides once everything's kind of, in case we got to move this.
Right now it's an easy cut if we have to separate this.
Otherwise, you'd have to cut the whole darn thing
I'll weld
again.
this thing out and I'm going to jinx us.
Yeah, let's go the other side then.
Good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curve, landing the hill.
Little tip for when you don't have a striker,
Yeah?
turn the gas on. So now you can see all the moisture in there. Yeah. And then you watch it starting to dry out. You can really see it on push it.
See how it kind of bubbles up? You have to take it down there, yeah? Yeah, this side is kind of staying a little bit.
So yeah, you can see just kind of what it's looking like there. Yeah. So, make sense? And just get it a little more. Yeah. Yep. They are.
Yeah, that's pretty crappy. Mine's not as nice as yours, Blake, but
I got the magic eraser right here.
all right, so we're just taking the clamps off now. It's all tacked in there. And hopefully it stays where it's at. Man, that's looking good, Blake. All right, so the rails are looking good. Nice and straight. With the clamps all off of there, so now Blake's just welding away. He's gonna do a bunch of passes. And just start filling inside. Weld grind, weld grind.
All right, so this is welded, and I just did a rough grind with a grinding wheel. This is actually an aluminum grinding wheel. So the thing is with these is they don't gall up as much.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the compounds are, but they'll actually grind aluminum quite nicely. So all I want to do with this first wheel is focus on the bead. I'm not touching anything, I'm trying not to touch anything on the sides. And if I do, I'm not holding it straight on to gouge it. I'm being real gentle to what we call feather.
Almost like doing body work.
Yeah, just kind of feathering it out. So
Yeah.
now I'm not going to take it off anymore with that. So I'm going to switch out from a grinding wheel to this backing pad. This is just a 5-inch backing pad for a Walter, and Walter makes it. And then I have these different sanding discs. They're 3 different grits. I don't even have to go this extensive, but just because Mark's such a nice guy and I'm invested in this project, I'm going to go a little more. So,
We don't want to ride around in a truck that wasn't welded right.
well, exactly. I just know people are going to be coming up. Oh!
Oh, yeah, that's right. At the shows,
Right there.
they'll be looking for the welds. So you got to try and hide
Exactly,
it.
right there. So now, I got a 24 grit on here. I'm just going to make a couple passes down
Okay.
and go to the next one. So, have a look at her, Mark. That's the 24 grit.
Oh, that's nice.
So now this is the 36 grit, I believe. The last grit. This is kind of like when you're getting into, this is a 60 grit.
Huh.
Right? Or 80 grit. Yeah.
80.
Yeah. So now this is like what I kind of have for like stainless, when I'm doing stainless projects.
Yep.
I'll only touch it with the 80.
Huh.
You may notice that I'm not holding it on an angle like this.
To try and cut into it, yeah.
I'm trying to use as much flat surface as I can, so when I'm cutting or grinding, I'm pulling it back, using as much flat surface as I can, and I'm telling by the sides of the weld on how much pressure I'm putting in and trying to make it nice and even. But I mean, like, this is a little exaggerated right here, but that's just because there's pitting in there. So that's not much I can do without gouging out a whole bunch. So there you go. There's a welded and blended framework.
That's the nice. Well, thank you, Blake. That's the nicest. That's the nicest section on this old frame. Is the weld. Yeah, just try and spot the weld in that. That's beautiful. Okay, so now Blake's going to tackle the other side. So there's the before. And after. Pretty nice, Blake.
Thank you.
Okay, should we put her back on our tires?
I think so.
All right. Getting on our own tires again. Yeah. All right. That is awesome.
Got a wiggly truck.
Got a wiggly truck. That is so cool.
Well, what do you think?
Blake.
You're welcome. What do you think? Let's want to clean up this deck and
Yeah, that's a real good look.
have a desk ready?
Yeah. That is quite a truck, I have to say. I'm so happy that Blake was able to help me out with this project, because she is a long, beautiful truck now. I mean, there's still a lot of work to do. And the Let's Go Truck Show in September isn't that far away, but man, oh man, it's coming together. We made a lot of progress in a short amount of time. So obviously, still need to finish up the frame. We got to fill in all the holes. So we're trying to smooth everything out. There's a couple holes that are filled that just need to be ground down. Got to clean up, well, the inside of the weld's cleaned up. We got to fish plate the inside. I got to get the mount. This is a torque tube mount. Kind of goes similar to this guy. And then we were actually looking at this back bracket. That stuff all has to come out of here because it's just rotten and corrosion jacked. So I'll have to drop these brackets and do all of that. New airbags. We'll probably need well, this drive shaft will have to be extended. What I'll probably do is put a carrier bearing on this mount here. We don't need the shocks anymore, obviously. And then there'll have to be another drive shaft to the diff. I need a third member, or at least the front peanut. New airbags, new pots. Yeah, there's still a lot of work. A lot of work. Airlines, electrical, but I want to drive it. There's still a lot of work that needs doing before this truck's going to be roadworthy, but it is going to be a beast when it's finally on the road. So with that, I hope you enjoyed watching the episode. I mean, it's something a little different. Normally, I do all this work by myself, as you know, and it was just so great to have Blake helping me out on this project. I mean, I couldn't have done it without him. He's such a talented welder and fabricator. If you enjoyed watching, enjoyed following along and watching Blake, I highly encourage you to go check out his channel, FlyWeldFabricate on YouTube, and give him a subscribe. And just as we were wrapping up here, Blake and I were talking about a bunch of different ideas, exhaust, deck plates. We're going to do a lot of custom stuff on this truck. So there's some really cool ideas, and it's going to be some neat custom fabrication on this truck. Well, actually all my trucks. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up there. Like I say, thanks for watching. If you can do old TwinSticks a solid, hit the like button down below. Because what that does is when you hit the like button, it actually gets YouTube to release the video to more viewers so more people can see it. So that's something you can do to give back to old TwinSticks. So I really appreciate that. And with that, I'm going to wrap the episode up there. There's still lots more to come on the Duke. And yeah, I think I'm going to go inside and have a cold one. So Like I always say, don't ever forget, you got it. Trucker brought it.